Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Favor, Deborah? You got it now. All right. We got it. Got it. All right.
And we got two Lori Anns with us.
Yes, we do. And she's so amazing. One of her is more than enough. Like, she is this beautiful light in the universe. And now we've got two of her here.
I love it. We welcome everybody to the CodPast podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Lori Ann, and you're going to say your name for me.
lulio Casdia.
lulio Casdia. What a
Fold out
beautiful
business card, girl. Fold out business card.
It is a beautiful, you fill that business card out. I'm going to, we're going to have a couple fish jokes, and then I'm going to introduce Lori formally. I'm so excited. Dr. Trish will be with us shortly, and we're going to move on to a great show. We're going to have so much fun here. So my fish joke is very cool, and I went live on my page because I did. And the fish joke was from my cousin in Ohio. He just does so many funny jokes every day. But he said, someone threw a bottle of omega-3 pills at me. Luckily, my injuries were only super fish oil.
But
And Laura, did you have one?
I do. And I may be recirculating the same one, but I love it. So I'm going to say it again, just like a 3-year-old.
Okay. I love it.
So what do you call a monster fish?
Monster fish.
I don't know.
Big kahuna?
That's a good one.
That is good.
Codzilla.
Oh, Godzilla. I love it.
That is good.
So I can't wait to have Lori tell us about herself. I'm going to introduce her, but she's an amazing person, and she is in the East Coast. So we're going to have her tell all about you, but I'm going to introduce her. Lori Ann is a life and a business coach and transformational success coach. She's a performance coach, a business and marketing strategist, the radio host of Healthy Lifestyles with Lori Ann, authors of VTails, which we'll have her talk about the VTails, Classic Vitality Cocktails, and a high-performance implementation engineer. Lori Ann helps entrepreneurs and business owners who are just starting out and who feel stuck in their life and business to create the business that will sustain their life they desire. She holds their hand from carrying the vision of what they want to be. For carrying what they want it to look like, to finding their purpose, to building their confidence and mindset to dare to go after it, to creating a successful and fully fulfilling business and personal life that's aligned with who they are and what's important to them. And last but not least, to implementing the systems, tools, work-life tapestry, and self-care that are needed to make it a sustainable and then soar to success. Because that's a really important part, right? We're all dreamers. We have a lot of dreams, got a lot of ideas, but we also have to implement. And this is one of Lori's great gifts. She's been seen on Fox News 12, Jack Canfield Success TV, and more. Lori's an award-winning coach, speaker, and believes her life's purpose is to bring positive, creative energy into the world. Her purpose is to use her love and compassion to illuminate and empower others to find and embrace their life purpose, live their highest vision, and forge a strong foundation to soar to success. Her intention is to assist you on your magical journey, guiding you to tap into the inner resources you struggle to access alone. She wants to help you create a new belief system about you and what's possible. And we want to welcome Lori to our CodPast podcast.
Thank you so much.
So exciting. And she has an awesome outfit on. I just love it. And the little hat and everything.
Thanks. I was feeling kind of kitschy today. So
you look kitschy. You're looking kitschy. Lori also rides motorcycle. She's just she's such an amazing entrepreneur. So
well, if you're going to live life, embrace it and live it.
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So,
So Lori, tell us a little bit. I know I said a lot of things about you, sort of your bullet point resume, but tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and how you came about being interested in what it is that you're interested in doing.
oh my gosh, yeah. So I live in New York. I live out on Long Island, in a cozy little place called Mount Sinai. It's like a little version of where I grew up, which was Dix Hills, also in Long Island, on Long Island, and I love it here. It's just beautiful. We have access to everything possible, within a couple of hours. So I love living here. How I got to do here where I am today, it's quite the story. But everybody goes through some kind of transition. And I went through a really major transition. I had a very large betrayal and hurt me beyond hurt, to the point where I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Goonies, but there's a part of Goonies where they're standing on like a glass footing, or it's actually rocks maybe, but in my mind it's glass, and they press the wrong button and the whole glass shatters and breaks underneath them. That's kind of how I felt like when I was betrayed, because not only was it the betrayal and I lost that person very close to me, which I thought was very close to me and important to me, but I also lost me. And I had lost me in the process way before that, but I wasn't even focused on that at that point. With the betrayal, I questioned everything about myself, my ability to judge, my ability to make decisions for myself, my ability to trust other people, and trust was always an issue anyway. So everything just broke apart. So I had to make a decision. I did have a little pity poor me party. I'll be fully honest about that. I had that little party and then I got bored of it. And I was like, I don't like this party anymore. I want another party. So I sat there and I really looked at it. And one of my mentors said to me once, you have options. And I'm a big believer that life is all about choices. It really, if you boil it down, it's about choices. And you really only have two choices: either stay stuck or get unstuck. Either you go up or you go down, you go right or you go left. But you only really have two choices to make in any decision if you take out all the emotions and you just look at what the choices are. It's either right or left, yes or no, forward or back, stay or go, right? So my decision was, do I want to stay stuck? Do I want to stay here and pity myself and feel really yucky? Or do I want to move on? And I chose to get unstuck, and I did a lot of work on myself. So what had transpired was I started looking at why I lost myself, where I went. Where was that 19-year-old powerful young woman who feared nothing, would try anything, as long as she thought it was safe, and would just proceed forward, like nothing would stop her. What people said didn't stop her. It was just, she was just being her, genuinely her. Where was that woman? Where was that fearless woman? And so through the years, I'd found myself a little piece at a time, I was giving it away. And a lot of people refer to that as giving your power away, but I was giving pieces of myself away to adjust to the pieces who were in my life, pieces of the people in my life. And by doing that, I really lost myself, because I became this other person who, P.S., I didn't really enjoy. I became this other person who wasn't me. And I was sitting in that body going, gosh, why don't people get me? Why don't they understand who I am? Well, P.S., I wasn't being who I am to everybody else, because I had this big wall around me. Picture like a castle wall, picture a moat, and then picture another wall. I was so, insulated because I had gotten so hurt, and I was protecting myself from being hurt so much so that I ended up getting the biggest hurt possible. But the good news is this: universe, God, source, however you refer to your higher power, is amazing. And so they come along and they had tapped me gently and went, excuse me, and let me know, probably not doing the right thing right now. I ignored it. So then it kind of like tapped me harder, and then it punched me in the arm, and then it kind of punched me in the face, and I'm still going, yeah, no. Finally, it ran me over by a truck and backed up over me. And I was like, okay, that's where that big explosion happened, and everything needed to change. From that, I decided to take the steps that would allow me to be where I am today. And all the tools I learned from the past help me with my clients today, so that they don't be, because they're where I was. So they're the old me. All of my clients that I serve were used to be Lori's. Now they want to come up and play with me as current Lori. And I think that's the fun part of that whole transition. The other thing is from that contrast, and I always go like this, from my contrast, the negative things that happen, I found out what I really wanted. Because if we don't know what we don't want, we don't know what we do want, right? Right from Esther Hicks, Abraham, right? And that is so important for us to learn that. And once we learn what we do want, we look at what we don't want as a gift, because but for the fact that we had that experience, we wouldn't be who we are today. And we wouldn't know who we are today. So that's where that transformational success coach comes in. I also have 35 years plus, don't do the math, of business and marketing experience in Fortune 100 companies and doing marketing and helping other people out and helping other businesses be their best. And I've been mentoring and coaching for many, many years, just not getting paid for being just a coach. Now I'm just a coach. And I mean just in such the best way, because I'm very focused and I'm able to help other people do what they love. And that is such a gift for me, because I can see one of my superpowers. I have three. One of my superpowers is being able to see potential in people, whether or not they can really be successful. And then another superpower is you say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I can see 8 to 10 steps down from where you are today of the direction you really need to take to be successful. And if they choose to listen and take some guidance, then they will absolutely, as my catchphrase is, soar to success. But they have to show up for themselves. So very long story, but I think maybe worth it. But that's how I got here today.
I think that's totally worth it. So I noticed when I looked at your resume, I mean, I know you personally, but I saw the soar to success with the TM. So I just love the journey you've taken. And I was taking a couple of notes because I'm sure you help a lot of people too, whose children, like empty nest women, right? And that's interesting that you say you gave pieces of yourself away, because for me, I also went through that, but I feel like rather than giving it away, I feel like I grabbed everybody else's. They didn't take it from me. I took it from them, and I got lost in there. I didn't know who I was because I was a little piece of everybody.
So really, there's no difference in that. There's no difference in the interpretation of that. At the end of the day, we lost ourselves, right?
Yes.
Either we fell into the moat or we were caught outside and everybody else was in the moat. Either way, we weren't who we were supposed to be, because we were really trying to please everybody else. Because what you were doing too was trying to please everybody else. And, oh, let me take this and let me take that. I remember years ago when I was younger, this one girl had this really cool laugh, and I started finding myself, because I'm a singer, right? And I hear things, and when I speak to people with accents, you'll see I pick up those accents too. It's terrible. They think I'm making fun, and I'm like, no, it's just what I do. I'm sorry, it's an ear thing. But it did show that I was listening, so that was the positive part of it. But with that said, it was I took on her laugh a little bit, and my father was like, what are you doing? That's not your laugh. And I'm like, I don't know. So that was like, some little early on indicators that we do take on other people. We try to fit in. And the best way to fit in, best piece of information I can give anybody, share with anybody that I've learned so far, is the best way to fit in is being genuinely yourself. Because when you are, they get to see the magic of you, which they don't want to see themselves. They want to see somebody else. So be yourself. That's when you're going to fit in the most. And if you don't fit in with that group, then that's not meant to be either. So you don't want to be around those people.
One thing you said, Lori, that when you had the betrayal, or when it happened, I mean, the same thing happened to me, but you said you just like, where is that 19-year-old girl that's strong? Did you always feel like there was a flame inside you, your identity or your soul or whatever inside you, and nothing, even the worst betrayal, couldn't destroy you? What was that for you? I always felt like there was a little flame inside me that no one could put out.
Yeah. So to me, that was always my little girl. That was my inner child, right? And I would look at it in my mind as, I'm protecting that innocence. I don't want to give away that innocence. That innocence was that person who believed in everything. I was somebody who, the person who betrayed me actually said this to me. I was somebody who always watched happy ending movies. The movies had to be happy, lifestyle. Maybe some of the acting's not so good. Maybe the storylines are obvious. Maybe they use the same equation all the time. Maybe I'm okay with that because it always ends up happy because in the last 5 minutes, they're going to kiss each other, right? So that makes me happy. So I never wanted to lose that person. And I always held on to that person, no matter what happened to me in the past. I never focused on victim. I always focused on, but life is good. Life ends good. Everybody's good, and I always see that light in everybody else. So yeah, it's a light, it's a fire that remains in you and that no one could snuff out. Even somebody in a corporate office who was trying to break me. He was trying to break me because I was just too perky for him. And he couldn't break me because I was like, oh no, you can't do that. That's not even possible. No one can break me unless I let them. And that wasn't an option. So yeah, there's that flame in there that you see. I also had lights as I was growing up. Looking back now, I had little indicators that this is where I was going to be, because of certain things that I noticed that I got attracted to, and I didn't know why. And then I kind of let it go to the side, and then I would get attracted to certain things and I would let it go to the side. But all of those tools ended up being what I need right now. And it's amazing, no matter what job you're in, look back and look at all the tools you've learned up to that point. And don't you know, all that helps you with what you're doing today. It's just remarkable. It's remarkable how it worked.
Didn't you talk about, was it you that talked about that all those little lights along the way that indicated to you, were you the one with the runway?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really love what you just said. So would you expound on that a little bit more? So let's say you were attracted to painting, but you didn't really do anything with it, or you're attracted to horses, or you're whatever. Talk a little bit about that, the lights in your life and the runway, and if that's where you belong on that runway.
Yeah. So, but you have to be able to be ready to put all those pieces together, right? So that's why a lot of us do a lot of our transformation in our 40s, 50s, 60s, because we're not ready. We're gathering all those pieces. We're putting all the people into that plane that's going to go down that runway. We need to stay on our train track, right? And the only way we can do that is by having all these life experiences, taking them together and utilize them to stay on your train track, to be where you are. So all of those lights were indicators that there was something else that I was supposed to do. All of those things would be like, you should be doing this. And universe kept saying, you should be doing this. And source would be saying, maybe have it over here. And it kept just kind of like a cat. You ever see a cat play with a toy? They bat it, they bat it, they bat it. Or another example is, if you're not familiar with cats, a bowling alley where you put the bumpers in and it keeps the ball going down straight. That's exactly what life is doing to us. And if we take the direction, then we're going to have an easier route, similar to like using Google Maps. They give you 3 different routes. One is really, really long. One is a little shorter. One is direct. Now, if we're smart, we take the direct one because that has obviously the quickest path, and it probably has less bumps. We take the long way around. That's a choice, because life is a choice, right? If we take the long way around, we're still going to end up in the same place, but we're going to take a longer way around. It's probably going to be a lot more bumpier. I just kept choosing to take the long way around because I apparently liked putting round pegs into square holes. And when I finally gave that up, life became, I'm going to say the word, easy. It became easy. That's when I know when my clients are doing what they're meant to do, because they go, Lorianne, you can't even imagine. I thought about this, and then the next day I got a phone call, or I set up my business, and as soon as I received that business kit that you sent me, I got a phone call from one of my dream clients, what I really wanted as my dream clients. I'm like, yeah, that's universe confirming you're on the right track. That's universe saying you're doing the right thing. Those are beautiful things when you start to recognize it. So, but you have to be awake. You have to know what you want. So you have to have the contrast. In other words, in order for you to know what you want, right? So you have to have this life experience. That's why we have it the way we do. Some people do it a lot faster because they just have that belief. That's the other thing. A lot of people say, I'll believe it when I see it. You got to believe it first, and then you will see it. then you will see it. So you got to believe in here. You got to believe in yourself. And get off my soapbox, but we come with all our success codes right inside. And that's the light. That's the runway. All our success codes are there, dropping those lights saying, this is the way you're supposed to go. This is the way you're supposed to go. And sometimes we decide to rear off that runway. That's okay. But you're going to be batted back onto the runway eventually. It's just how long it's going to take. That's up to the journey that you're supposed to take. And
That is
if you're awake, right?
Yeah, that and I was going to have Laura talk about, and she made me have this question, but about listening to your angels, your guides, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So Laura, you want to ask her, because you were saying pay attention to those. And
yeah, I mean, I love it. It's very simple, but it's not easy, right? It's learning how to trust your intuition. Learning, I call it living between letting go and letting God, and God helps those who help themselves, because we have to take action. That generally takes a left brain, usually, right? Like you have all this thought in the right brain, and then you have to take the action in the left. And sometimes it's hard to go between. And so I think that's probably where you get a little out of kilter. But I think that's part of the magic. I mean, at this point, I'm in my late 50s, and I see
Don't
that.
do math, anybody.
Yeah, I know I look 29.
You do. I was like, what?
But I think that actually is part of the magic, even when we're in it and it feels so icky. When we come out of it, and that's what the CodPast is about, it's like, wow, we got out of it. And I don't mean you want to throw bombs in your own way to overcome them, but they're going to be there probably, maybe. And it's finding that space.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Lori, tell me.
Yeah, no, that's you get me all excited when you talk like this, because this is like everything that I love is, you have these contrasts, these negative experiences, right? You have this contrast, and I look at the contrast as a blessing. So when I have the contrast, I ask myself, but this is icky. I don't like it. It's not making me happy. What am I supposed to learn? There's something in there that I'm supposed to learn, so I don't have to feel this again. So the learning curve is, if we can learn it the first time, then it's from the tap, not from the being run over by the truck. Because what will happen is we keep getting the lesson again and again and again and again until we learn it. And here's the cool thing about universe, source, and karma. It will continue to get harsher and harsher and harsher until it gets your attention. And it's not because it's supposed to be a hard life and life is supposed to be a struggle. It's a camera lens shift. We've spoken about this before. If I could look at my day and go, oh my God, this is going to be a bad day. And it will be, because I already set it up to be a bad day. Or I can look at it going, all right, I got a challenge. It's okay. I spilled the milk all over the floor. I'm going to clean it up. There are worse things that could happen. Not a big deal. And go on my day, and I'm going to see that my day is going to improve markedly. And we can switch that. Hey, Trish. Hey, Dr.
Byron.
Trish. How are you, Byron? We can switch that in a nanosecond once we learn how to do it. It used to take me 2 weeks, and then it took me a little less, and it took me a little less, and now it takes me, I can switch it on a dime. I start going in, and I'm like, nope, not going there. Switch it back, change my lens. Become an observer, get out of my ego. When I have emotions, I'm in my ego. When I'm observing, I don't have emotions. There's not a connection. It doesn't mean I'm not attached to it. It just means I'm not making decisions based on emotions. When you get that involved, you make different decisions. So I look at it as if I was giving guidance to someone else. That's why we're not good coaches to ourselves. That's why we have coaches ourselves, because they need to help us go through the same thing we help other people through. Right?
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think what you're saying, say it tapped you on the shoulder when you were young, you ignored it, all that stuff, and they had to punch you for you to pay attention. But as you get smarter, more intuition, use your tools, then the tap, you're like, oh, you're like, you know what, I'll be successful if I listen to that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And that's the key, is being ready for it. You have to be awake for it. You have to be ready for it. And what I mean by awake is we go through life and it's like, okay, we keep doing the same thing every day, blah, 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 but we're not growing ourselves. when you know, because you ladies are all doing it, you're growing and you're beaming and you're loving life, and you're noticing like every leaf on the tree. It's like everything tastes better. It's just because you're really experiencing life. You're throwing your whole emotions into it, as opposed to just walking through your day. So many people are out there walking through their day. And I actually had this experience. I don't know if I shared it with you prior, but when we were coming back from an event down in Florida, I was walking through the airport, and I just had this moment where there were, if it were a movie, there would be people with no faces coming at me, and just the backs of people's head walking away from me, and they're all in black and white. And then periodically I had like these people that were seeing me. I was making eye contact. We were smiling to each other, like a knowing smile, like I've known them before, never met them before, have no clue. But there was this connection that I hadn't had. The rest of the people, they just weren't there. And to me, that was the difference between the people who aren't awake and the people who were awake. The people I was connecting with were like, yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to change the world. Yeah, we're going to do it quietly with love, coming from here. Because if we all worked from here, when I'm having a bad day and I'm really getting cranky about something, I go to here. I start looking at it with love. As soon as I wrap whatever it is with love, it's not as difficult. It's not as hard. And we make better decisions that way when we work from here. So that's what I see us doing. The four of us, the five of us doing, is we're bringing love into the world, helping people recognize that there's a better way to do this, and we don't have to kill each other to do it. We need to work together collectively to make this world the beautiful place that it is. And all that silent population out there like us, who have been so quiet in the past, we're not silent anymore. We're coming back out, and we are, we're coming out, and we're coming out screaming, saying, hey, we're here, and we're going to help you. And, woo-woo is in, and I love it.
I'm interested to know, I know you have a couple businesses, and I'm interested to know, I'm not sure if Trish and Byron have a question yet on the subject before we go into.
Gorgeous does Trish look?
I know it.
Beautiful. Look at how beautiful you look.
Yeah.
Ladies,
do you guys have a question?
Beautiful.
Do you have a question for Lori before I wanted her to talk?
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody that Laura and I went to some seminar a long time ago, and those people that you didn't make eye contact with, Lori, we call those backdrop people. Like they're just here to fill in some kind of space that we don't understand. But those people that are making eye contact with you now, I mean, I'm having that happen a lot. And I think that people that they only can see your shoulder. That's better.
Much better.
Hey. So we're going to have a little lesson on our podcast about how to show up for podcasts. Anyway, I think that people are waking up, but I was just telling these guys this morning that I spent the night in Phoenix last night with my daughter, and she doesn't have internet, and all I really watch is either YouTube, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, something like that, Saudi Guru, or I watch some Netflix show I want to watch, or Gaia, something like that. So I've been out of like what's going on in the world for like years. And then being in Costa Rica, nobody watches TV because everybody's outside doing stuff. And I'm telling you, if I was going to be scared about what's going on the planet, I'd watch regular television, because I'm not kidding. I was trying to find some like enlightening show this morning, just anything that I could put in the background while I'm exercising. And there were like 4 or 5 MTV channels and other things. And I mean, they had 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 12-year-olds dressed up with big, hoops and things in real, what is that black stuff called, Laura? Like, what is that when you
goth? Like goth?
Mm-hmm. But they had like little kids, 3 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, dressed up, jumping up and down with the band that looked like Metallica was doing Jesus revivals, I mean, it would make Metallica look like an angel group compared to what this group was doing. And the kids are, headbanging and all that, which I know a lot of kids do, but it was frightening. And they are reaching down into the younger, really little kids. And I went all over the world training children because children can't fend for themselves. We have to be taught. So people that are older, we're all still learning. Like you just said, Lori, we all need a coach. Like we have to coach each other because we need help. We need training, right?
Yeah.
Well, a little kid, and I think anybody under like 25, because some of the kids and parents that I coach right now are just really enlightened kids, but they're really screwed up. And they just want help. They want, like, tell me what to do. Tell me, what am I not thinking? And some of the kids I have as clients right now, they're off the charts brilliant. They even would make him have a run for his money. And when he was 18, he was off the charts brilliant. These kids are really depressed. They really read everything. They know everything. But you, Lori, and you, Dr. Deborah, and you, Laura, and you, Dr. Byron, my buddy from years ago, we have to step into this leadership in a way we never have stepped in because we can't even be comfortable right now. The world needs leadership like I've never seen in my life.
Yeah.
And we've got to step into being that light for others to follow because that love that you're talking about, these children are starving for it, but the adults, like, how many 50, 60-year-old adults are we working with? They're like, you go, how have you been on this planet and still like this?
Yeah, I think that brings it back to when Lori was saying about the lights that you see and the runway that the universe or God is making for you, and you kind of go different directions. Part of it is what you said, society saying, oh no, you don't want to be, you can't like ride horses for a life, or you can't paint for a life. You've got to go do this thing, that thing. And that's kind of what happened to me. And I'm happy I did what I did, but I would have done much bigger things, but
yeah. So
yeah.
what TV does, my mom always said that it's just a brain sucker. It's like, stop it. And one of my great mentors from the past, he said to me, and I adored Jack, and not Jack Canfield, I adore him too, and he's a mentor now, but Jack said to me, he said, Lorianne, don't watch the Discovery Channel, be the Discovery Channel. Just don't just sit there watching life go by, be life, go out there and have life. That's why I ride motorcycles, I play golf, I do all these crazy things. And they're not crazy to me. And that's also why I brought the success principles to the local libraries, and I'm teaching the children, the teens, and the adults success principles, because just imagine if we knew then what we knew now, life would be different. So if we can bring this to the children before their brains are kind of mushed into a different direction, those that want to learn, and they do, if we can bring these principles to them and help them be successful, and not keep them bogged down. See, people are trying to keep other people bogged down because they feel bad about themselves. So they don't want anybody to be better. So when I sit there and lift other people up, bring them on my radio show and just put them out there, and they're like, what do you mean you're not charging them? I'm like, well, I don't want to, because I want people to know what they're doing. By lifting them up, they're like, well, doesn't that take away from you? I'm like, no, because all of us lift up when people elevate, right? All of us vibration up when people are doing good things and working from love. So if we can help the youth learn what we know now and try to give them those tools now, God, I would have eaten this up. And those are the lights that were in the past saying, you should go look at this, but I didn't know what this was. Now I do. So I want to bring that to as many people, any age, that I can possibly reach and speak to, so that we can send the message out to those who choose to. There will still be people, like you said, Dr. Trish, that they're just walking blindly. They're, what did you call them?
The backdrop people.
The backdrop people. There will always be backdrop people, and there have to be people who, I guess, drink the Kool-Aid. I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker. And that's why I also, and this is really important, I surround myself with empowered people like yourselves, because that keeps me elevated up here as well. I don't get pulled down. I think I've shared a story called, which is crabs in the bucket, where you have crabs in the bottom of the bucket, and you'll notice you don't have to put a cover on a crab in the bucket, because it's unlike frogs. Frogs will jump out of the bucket, right? Crabs will just sit there and wallow in the bottom and climb all over each other and yuck, right? But every once in a while you get this exciting little crab that, you know, reaches up there and tries to get to the top of the bucket to crawl out, and the other crabs pull them back down. That's what we're seeing in our society. We keep people muted so that they feel better about themselves, and they take the life out of people who are serving them or underneath them, and that includes some of our education system. And both of my parents,
most of it. Are you kidding?
both of my parents are teachers. I was being politically correct. Both of my parents were teachers, and my dad was a superintendent. And, you know, they tried to lift people up, lift kids up, show them. I'll never forget when I met somebody in my 20s in California. I live in New York. I was on a business trip in California, and they saw my last name. DiIulio is a very uncommon name, and anybody who has it is related to me, literally. And they saw my last name and went, "Are you related to Ed?" And I went, "Which one?" And they went, "Senior, I guess." And I was like, "Well, how did you?" And he goes, "He was my music teacher," because he was the director of music over here in one of the schools. And I was like, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "I got to thank you. He saved my life." I went, "What?" He said, "But for your dad requiring me to do things and instilling discipline in me, I would have either been in jail or dead." I mean, when you hear the impact that you can have as an adult, as a teacher of any kind, you know, formal teacher or life teacher, you really can impact another person's life. That's why words matter. That's why
words matter. I mean, I was just listening yesterday on a YouTube thing, driving over from California, about that people say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. And this psychiatrist said, "Are you freaking kidding me? Words hurt everything. Words are the problem." And I was listening to an Earl Nightingale, you know, from what, the 40s or something.
Yeah.
He was saying, always go 180 degrees away from however everybody else is going, because only 5% are going to make it successful. And, you know, the thing about Lori, Byron and I jumped in with both feet and all of our money and time to try to change K-12 education and teacher training. And the issue is that it's like crabs. There are all these good people and all these yummy little crabs, but the system keeps pulling everybody down to wanting to be a backdrop person.
Yes.
So the system does not want to elevate you to your highest and greatest good. The system wants to say, no, you get in here and you boil yourself with the rest of us. And I think that right now, Byron and I started that school. Well, Byron came in a little bit later, but I started it because of 9/11, so it was 2002. So it's been almost 20 years. And maybe we made a little bit of a dent, but now I'm feeling
every step matters. Everything we do matters. Every little dent matters, because you don't know how that dent spirals out, because you're creating ripples every time.
Sure. But attempting to change a big institution is a fool's game. You have to go outside of it. Trish tried that, starting up a charter school instead of a public school, but then they wrapped all the rules of the public school world around the charter schools,
Sure.
And it made it impossible to deal with.
But that's and no matter what, I keep trying. We just keep trying.
But in something that you've been doing very well, Lorianne, and I have done off and on my whole life, is getting small groups together that empower each other. And I think one of the predictions I made early this morning, and really declarations, is that I have always had the broken wing syndrome. Like, if you have a broken wing, come on, you can come into my house and I'm going to take care of you for years. And I love that about me. I love that about me. But if I'm really going to step into my leadership that makes me feel super uncomfortable, like, I can take care of all the broken wing people because they need me, right? But when I start helping people that are really on fire and doing really well, that's frightening. That's like intimidating. And so we kind of learned the hard way that if we're going to make a difference, Byron and I had a chance to work with some heavy duty people. Jack Canfield is one of them, but Peter Diamandis, we worked with a lot.
Jack Ring.
Jack Ring was both of our mentor. And when we are working with those high level people, it's intimidating. And so what do? We defer back and we go back to the broken wings. Like, let me help you. But I realized this morning, there are a lot of people that need help right now on the planet. But I think if we can be leaders to each other and to the people that just make us try a little harder, because it's not that easy and it's not that comfortable, that's where we need to be, and that's where the retreats are.
And earlier I was speaking about being uncomfortable, that you need to put yourself in a position where you're not comfortable. If you're in that cozy little couch and you have your blanket on and it's nice and warm there and you don't really want to get off the couch, you're not going to make a difference. But if you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, that also lets you be that leader, because you're showing others, look, if I can do it, you can do it. Let's do this together. I'm here. I'm going to support you. That you would ever be intimidated by Jack Canfield or any of the other people is just befuddling to me, because you're just so amazing, Dr. Trish, that just taking that and having the knowledge and the knowing that I know by just knowing you and watching you and listening to you and following you, that the amount of knowledge you have an obligation, and I'm going to use the Italian guilt card, you have an obligation to go out there and share that knowledge with as many people as you can, because they need you. They're looking for you. They're looking for all of us to share what we have. Collectively and singularly, we need to go out there and do this. We can make a difference. I don't believe in the word can't. I know we can make it, even if it's one person at a time. It's one more person who transformed into who they're meant to be. And once they realize that it's real, and they shut off the TV and they stop following other things that are really nonsense, made to slow you down and keep you in that negative vibe. And that's what it's there for. To me, it's universe challenging you. Those things are universe challenging you of whether you're committed enough to do what you're meant to do.
Lori, tell us go ahead, Byron. Sorry.
To me, the really good news is that there are things going on behind the scenes right now that are really going to change the platform that we're all on.
Yeah, baby.
There are people fixing the world right now, taking down the bad guys. Soon they'll be elevated.
Financial stuff.
They're going to change the financial system. They're going to move a lot of the truly evil people out of the way. A lot of them quietly, some of them visibly, so that we know that something's going on. So we need to prepare people. We need to let people know that they are soon going to have huge opportunities. The promise of technology is going to be here. When I was growing up, which is a long time ago, and everybody thought, well, by this time we'd all be working 20-hour weeks and we'd be flying around in cars, flying cars.
We're going to have really good service on the airplane.
Right. and it didn't happen. Somehow the benefits of technology got sucked up by institutions and by the evil people.
Everything can be good or bad. Yep, everything could be good or bad. It just depends on how we use it. So we're going to try to tilt the world to the good, because the bad have been ruling and we've allowed it. And there's the thing. We've all allowed it. Now we're saying,
but we didn't know. For the most part, we didn't know that there were
only got a few minutes
left who did not have our interests in mind.
Laura?
True.
Hey, I do. Yeah, I'm going to because we've only got a couple more minutes, and when we go over to Clubhouse, we can delve further. I feel like, our conversations are always so amazing that we never get to my question, which is, have you seen a ghost or UFO? But I can make it short here, and then we can go and ask you that, either one of those questions. Related to that, was there something, and it's similar actually how we started with what Dr. Deborah said, Was there ever a time in your life where maybe you got a visitation or just a knowing that you were here to change the world, Lori Ann? I would ask that question and then we'll head over to Clubhouse.
Yeah. So I when I was up in college, I went to this thing called the Renaissance Fair, but the original one up in Sterling, New York. And I'll never forget this. I was living on the property because I was a performer in the Renaissance Fair. I was a washerwoman. They had built me a whole washerwoman thing. It was fun. But anyway, so sitting on the property, we were closed for that day. I was reading a book. You always find me reading books. And all of a sudden this man walked by me and it was just so calming. And there was a peacefulness between us. And we exchanged just looks and a nod. And I went back to reading and I looked up and he was gone. Later that evening, I went to dinner at the main house and I was talking to people and I said, yeah, I saw this man today, blah, blah, blah. I described him, what they were wearing. And the woman in the house got really upset and said, how dare you? And she runs out of the room. And I'm like, what just happened? It was her husband who had passed on the property, who I had that interaction with. From that point on, I got more intuitive. I discovered that I had a lot of other things capable where I had a higher connection than I thought I ever did. And I know that when I'm working with my clients, and I know some clients get freaked out about it, I don't usually point it out, but I realize that words are coming out of my mouth sometimes that are not my cadence, or not my words. They're coming out of my mouth. Ideas are coming out of my mouth that I just had no fathom for. And that is, guidance from universe source, God, whatever you refer to your higher power with. And that guidance is dead doggone. Every time I get flushed with goosebumps, and then I know it's not me. So now that channeling capability is really interesting. It's not, readings or anything like that. It's literally something will be downloaded, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, that superpower kind of UFO-ish kind of feeling happens. And the more I believe, the more I see.
That is
Can I
amazing.
finish this with a Bible quote I heard that supports exactly what she just said?
I thought you were going to finish it with a song, Dr. Trish.
Oh, good night. Okay, it says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And without faith, it's impossible to please him, for he who comes to God must believe that he is a rewarder of those who seek him. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. What the Bible says in several verses, hundreds of verses, is trust more in things unseen. And I think that was what we three, Laura, Deborah, and I learned in Casdia, and then with you, Lori, the day after, we talked about, this is what the Bible is saying, is we don't know what we can't see. We don't know ETs, we don't know ghosts, we don't know fairies, we don't know, anything. We just have to trust that they're all here jumping up and down going, yay, they're about to get it.
Yeah. And one final note, if I might, is that we just need to be mindful of the fact that each one of us is a portion of universe source God. So as we're talking to someone else, understand, if you wouldn't say it to universe source God or to yourself, try not to say it to other people. And that's, if you remember and be mindful of that, life is easy.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that.
Wonderful.
We're going to head over to Clubhouse. I have the room
Yay.
open.
Thanks so much.
Open. So come on over. Thank you so much for being with us, Lori. And it was amazing as usual. I can't wait to spend more time with you in my life.
Yeah, we're going to do that. All right, see you guys in a minute.
World on fire.
All right,
Thank you all.
Clubhouse.